Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather on the 20th day of March, 2021. I'm Dave Percy, meteorologist with the National Weather Service. I'll be hosting today's show. Up first on, not really the hazardous weather graphic, but there is a winter storm warning out for the Juneau area. If I get the cursor on the right side of the right monitor here, there we go. And it's for heavy snow and blowing snow, is again winter storm warning, and it is the greater Juneau area, the greater Juneau area, from 4 p.m. Saturday, which is right now, until 10 a.m. Sunday, and looking for 5 to 8 inches of snow with winds gusting to 35 miles an hour. Just only 2/100 of an inch in the last 12 hours have fallen there, water equivalent, but that's going to increase obviously tonight. And then for the Cake and Petersburg areas, a winter weather advisory out, not a warning, expecting lighter conditions there. As you can see, Petersburg looking for 4 to 6 inches of snow, and that's it's out now until 10 a.m. Sunday morning. And again, during that time frame, Cake could pick up 3 to 4 inches, Petersburg 4 to 6 inches, Wrangell maybe about 2. Otherwise, Point Baker really not expecting anything, as well as Kaufman Cove. Probably be in the form of rain there, not much significant snow at all. So moving on to the satellite image, you can see the front and clouds and precipitation that's still off the coast mostly there, but pushing in a little bit more to the southern areas there, but not too much. Hoonah picked up about 0.12 of an inch in the last 12 hours, and that fell as snow, as did the 0.07 in Klawock, so pretty much light amounts up till now. But that's expected to increase pretty good here this evening and overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. And then just a lot of loose clouds there along the North Gulf Coast associated with that portion of the frontal boundary there. And then across southern or Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet, really not much to it. Although it did bring some precipitation to the Kodiak area, with northeast winds gusting to 35 miles an hour at about 0.3 of an inch, water equivalent precipitation there, most of which fell in the form of snow, but changed to rain. Actually, it was a snow to rain kind of situation today there, with temperatures down in the upper 30s at the state airport. But of course, you get any elevation, that's still falling in the form of snow. And then King Salmon also picked about 1 to 3 inches of snowfall, and that was one of the heavier amounts there in Bristol Bay or all of the southwest interior. Everywhere else where I saw reports were very light to nothing at all, and dry over the northern interior, and maybe pick up a few clouds on the north slope on out to the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, and storm free out over the Bering Sea. Just a weak circulation there, kind of dropping in on the Pribilof. Probably kick off some snow showers here from about now until through Saturday evening. And generally mostly cloudy for the western central Aleutians, some clearing toward the Fox Islands. And also maybe on the Alaska Peninsula, as that weak circulation there pulls off to the east just south of Kodiak. And on the chart today, there's that low center just off the coast of Kodiak earlier today, pulling eastward with frontal boundary starting to push in toward the Panhandle. Winds along the coast not really strong yet, gusting anywhere from 25 to 30, 32 miles an hour currently. Cape Decision, say Cape Spencer, in those areas, and a couple of the inside waters had gusts 25 miles an hour, but generally the wind and precipitation so far has been light. Areas of light snow across southern Alaska scattered around with mostly cloudy skies, Copper River Basin into Cook Inlet, and then that low there near the Pribilof, snow showers extending down to the eastern Aleutians, but dry. St. Lawrence Island, northern Bering Sea, with some sunshine north of the Alaska Range there, about to the Alaska Range, all the way up to the Brooks Range, and then pick up a few clouds on the Arctic coast, but not too bad. Conditions dry. And winds on the light side, same thing for the Aleutians, pretty good conditions, some clearing and precipitation free with light winds from Chimney-Attu all the way into Atka, and even the Fox Islands, really out there wasn't anywhere that was particularly windy. And that'll hold through tonight, with snow showers mostly over the Bering Sea. Some snow shower activity might drop into the western Aleutians. Adak and Atka will stay dry. Chance of snow showers, Fox Islands, and a little bit better chance in the Alaska Peninsula into Bristol Bay. That weak low just about over Bethel. So areas of light snow from the Yukon Delta coast down across the southwest interior to lower Yukon Valley into the Kuskokwim Valley. Occasional light snow, but accumulations generally less than 2 inches, probably generally less than an inch in most areas, or even a half an inch. and that cuts off pretty dramatically there as you get up the Yukon River and over toward the Alaska Range. Some of that might slip into southern Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay, maybe Kodiak Island, chance of snow showers, and most of the snow shower activity will be south of Prince William Sound. And then the heavy snow over the northern panhandle in the Juneau area tonight, and snow in the central Petersburg, Cake, and mostly rain elsewhere with gusty winds ahead of the front as it pushes in again up to 35, maybe 40 miles an hour. Dry from the Arctic coast into the central interior, and that holds through tomorrow. Dry and on the cold side up there for the Arctic coast north slope into the northeast interior, actually all the way down to the Copper River Basin. And clearing out now, south central Alaska should see a little more sun today than we saw, or tomorrow than what we saw today. And not bad Prince William Sound, and snow and rain, or rain and snow, all and winds all on the decrease throughout the day for the panhandle as that low weakens off the north coast and the main front pushes into western Canada. Another surge of cold air drops southward, bringing snowfall levels back down to sea level. They actually don't go above sea level, actually, but more snow showers on the increase for the central Aleutians, and isolated rain and snow showers there for the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, and for the outlook on Monday. But first, you can see the ridging there over the far western Bering and Aleutian areas for tomorrow. That shifts eastward ahead of a very intense frontal boundary there that just exits Kamchatka Peninsula by late afternoon Monday. That'll bring near storm force winds into the Shimiatu area. Forecast currently 45 knot winds from the south and southeast, and even definitely good storm force winds as you head westward toward the Komodorskis. So that'll be affecting the far western Aleutians and western Bering Sea late Monday afternoon. Otherwise, high pressure, light winds, mostly clear skies, Akanatka, maybe even the Pribilofs, right up to St. Lawrence Island. And north to northeast winds, cold northeast winds will keep snow showers going, scattered for the Fox Islands on the north shores there, and the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula, snow showers and breezy. Chance of snow or rain and snow for Kodiak Island. And the North Gulf Coast, a chance of some light snow in that weak easterly flow there. Main warm front way down to the south, and looks kind of showery for the panhandle. Not too bad, actually. Winds will be light and stays clear and dry and chilliest from the Copper River Basin right up over the eastern and then the north central interior to the central eastern Arctic coast. Chance of snow showers, western Arctic coast, on down with the trough toward Shishmaref, Kivalina, Point Hope, and in toward Kotzebue, maybe even Selawik in the Kobuk Valley. You'll see occasional snow or snow showers, but amounts will be quite light. And moving on to the forecast lows for tonight, mid-20s there for Lynn Canal to near 30 for Juneau. Otherwise, mid or in the 30s for the remainder of the southeast coast there, with the warmest conditions. Looks like Prince of Wales Island and Mount Edgecombe, Sitka, and Port Alexander. Otherwise, near 30 for Kodiak Island. 0 to 10 south central Alaska. 15 below Copper River Basin. Near 20 at Homer. 22 Seward. And in the 20s for Bristol Bay. Teens Kuskokwim Valley. 5 below, though, for McGrath and Nikolai. Also 15 to 20, 25 below for the central and northeast interior, north slope areas to the Arctic coast, and 5 to 10 below for the Seward Peninsula. Kotzebue on up to Kivalina, Point Hope, and near 0 for St. Lawrence Island. Single numbers for the Yukon Delta and for the Pribilofs. Lows in the mid-20s, lower 30s for the Aleutians, lower to mid-30s for the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians. Highs for tomorrow, mid-30s to lower 40s for the Panhandle, upper 30s for the North Gulf Coast, lower 30s there for the southern Kenai Peninsula, Kachemak Bay, and near 40 for Kodiak, mid to upper 20s south central Alaska and the Susitna Valley, upper teens for the Copper River Basin. Tanana Valley, central interior, lower to mid-teens, single numbers for the Brooks Range, below 0, north slope and the Arctic coast, say 5 to 12 below, single numbers for the northwest coast, and 15 for Nome, mid-teens for the Yukon Delta, and near 20 for the Kuskokwim Delta, 20 to 25, upper 20s Pribilofs in the 30s for the Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula. Lows for Monday morning, 15 to 20 below Copper River Basin, 5 below to 10 above for south central Alaska, mid-20s to upper 30s for the Panhandle, near freezing for Kodiak Island, lower to mid-20s for Bristol Bay, below 0 again, Fairbanks area, north of the Alaska Range, all the way to the Arctic coast, coldest Arctic coast north slope, 20 to 30 below there, right around 0 for the Seward Peninsula, a little below 0 St. Lawrence Island, and below 0 Ambler, McGrath, Nikolai. Lower 20s the Pribilofs, mid-20s Alaska Peninsula. Highs Monday afternoon in the 40s for the Panhandle, near 40 Kodiak, mid to upper 20s South Central Alaska, mid-teens Copper River Basin. Tanana Valley, 15 to 20, single numbers Brooks Range, either side of 0 for the Arctic coast, and mid-20s for the Pribilofs.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
First line weather graphics, Sunday morning. Not too bad over the interior. A few patches of some marginal VFR, north slope, eastern interior there. And looks like over the Kuskokwim Valley, central northern areas there from about the maybe Denali Park area on up just about to the Yukon River. And then IFR into the southwest interior there, Kuskokwim Delta, maybe reaching the southern Kuskokwim Valley and definitely Bristol Bay back out to the Pribilofs, Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, marginal, IFR, north of St. Matthew Island, St. Lawrence Island, Bering Strait, Seward Peninsula, right up western Arctic coast, northwest coast, and IFR from northern Kodiak Island, Fognak Island, Lozinski, and then eastward across the southern Gulf, on up and then down across the Panhandle. And the afternoon shapes up like this, a little reorientation to the IFR out there in the west. Still now over the Yukon Delta a little bit more, still over the Kuskokwim Delta, Pribilof, St. Matthew Island, Nunivak Island, and down to the north shores of Unmak and Unalaska Island, and maybe just grazing the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, otherwise becoming VFR for the central western Aleutians and Kodiak Marginal, VFR, Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, marginal VFR kind of lingering there over the eastern Copper River Basin and from roughly Cordova eastward across much of the Panhandle, a little bit of IFR along the coast of Prince of Wales Island, and then over toward Stewart and Hyder. And for Monday morning, IFR there, still in the southwest, but not quite as expansive as it was, but still covering, say, Bethel, Kuskokwim Bay, down to Togiak Bay, Dillingham, still possibly to the southern Kuskokwim Valley, but I think it'll be well south of Sleepmute, but in over the southwest hills and mountains there, Auckland and Kilbrook Mountains. Marginal VFR, a little more extensive though, and narrow band northward across the Yukon River, right to the central southern slopes of the Brooks Range. Patch of marginal VFR eastern Beaufort Sea coast, western coast too, down across the Seward Peninsula and to the lower Yukon River Valley and Delta. IFR now a little more expansive over the Panhandle. Not bad out west. VFR for the central western Aleutians northward to St. Lawrence Island. For the afternoon, that gets replaced with marginal VFR. Almost, but not quite to St. Matthew Island. St. Lawrence Island still VFR, and a little bit of marginal VFR, Seward Peninsula up to Cape Lisbon, Point Hope. VFR, Arctic coast, North Slope, Brooks Range, right on down across the Yukon River, Tanana River, Central Alaska Range, Susitna Valley looking good, northwestern Copper River Basin, Cook Inlet, northern Cook Inlet, VFR, Matanuska Valley, marginal for Prince William Sound, and southern and eastern Copper River Basin. Some of that spilling a little north of the Alaska Range, possibly affecting Northway and Tok. IFR for the most part, mostly for the Panhandle, and marginal VFR for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Anatuvik and Adigan, good VFR again tomorrow for both passes there. And Lake Clark and Merrill, occasionally marginal throughout the day, Sunday. And same thing for rainy, maybe less of a chance of marginal. Call it marginal, could be VFR at times. Will be VFR for windy, and it will be VFR for Isabel and Mentasta though. Isabel VFR, Mentasta, better chance seeing marginal conditions at times throughout the day. And Tanita back to the VFR. Portage VFR, Chilkoot and White, marginal. Freezing levels at the surface, a little farther south there in the Bering Sea, in fact, right down to the central Aleutians, but north of the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, North Gulf Coast, cutting through the Panhandle, 2,000 feet there up across Prince of Wales Island, maybe a net in Ketchikan. Icing, most of the moisture now sliding into the southeast coast, maybe just a chance of some considerable moderate there over the southern Panhandle, and that threat diminishes but exists all the way up into Lincoln Glacier Bay and westward maybe to Yakutat. Otherwise, no icing threats anywhere else in the state of any significance. And for the jet stream, strongest jet you can see either south of the Gulf of Alaska and Kodiak Island, up to 135 knots there, or much stronger northerlies there coming across the Kamchatka Peninsula, picking up about 140, 155 knots, just clipping Shimian at 2. Southwest 60 knots there ahead of that Russian Far East trough over the northern Bering Sea, 85 knots for the central Aleutians. About the same pattern at 9,000 feet, but lighter winds. Strongest winds across Queen Charlotte south of the Panhandle, 3,000 feet. Northerlies 25 to 30, central Bering Sea up to 40 over the central Aleutians, and the strongest winds south of the Panhandle. Easterlies 40 knots, Kobuk Valley, Turbulence, not too bad. Occasional light to isolated moderate chop for the central.
Welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snyder, and joining us once again is our good friend Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska. Thanks again for joining us, Eric. We really appreciate it, as always.
Happy to be here, Dave.
Thanks. And, you know, we're going to ask you some more satellite questions here, but, you know,
Okay.
since you're a regular guest, we're going to give you a riddle this time, kind of a trick start to the show.
Okay.
How do you see a polar bear in a snowstorm?
Sounds like a challenging question because
Okay.
the polar bear's white and the snowstorm's white.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Well, in the world of satellite meteorology, you couldn't, because the spatial resolution of this instrument that we're going to talk about today has 375 meters resolution, and even the most well-fed polar bear will not be 375 meters across.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to run into such a
No, it'd be a
creature,
bad day.
would you? In the satellite meteorology world, the equivalent would be, how do you tell the difference between clouds and then an area that has no clouds but's covered by snow,
Right.
a piece of ocean that has no clouds but has sea ice?
Ah.
All three of these are white. The
Right.
snow, the clouds, the sea ice, it's all white. So how, using satellite data, can you tell someone where the clouds are and where the clear areas are? This is important for aviators. Mariners want to know, in the ocean there, this white stuff, is that sea ice or is that just a cloud?
Right.
How do we tell the difference? And it turns out, if you look, say, at a picture of Alaska from the springtime, March or April, and it's high noon, so we're getting a lot of sunshine. If you were riding on a satellite with your human eye, look down, everything's white.
Right.
And we've got a picture of Alaska from early April, and we're seeing some of the lower elevations in south central Alaska are melting out, getting some brown ground there, but otherwise there's a whole lot of white on the image. What areas are cloudy, but what areas are clear and covered by snow or ice?
Okay.
It turns out that if we leave the visible spectrum behind a little bit.
Okay.
See, a satellite has multiple channels in the electromagnetic spectrum that it can look at.
Oh, okay.
Part of that's visible light, what we
Right.
see as humans, but there's a lot going on at other wavelengths. If we add in something that's called near infrared, what we couldn't quite see, but we're getting into that infrared territory, there's a magical property that we can exploit.
Secrets to find. Okay.
Oh yeah, this is actually powerful and almost magical. That at a slightly longer wavelength, when the sun shines down on Alaska and then it bounces off back to the satellite, at that near infrared wavelength, it turns out that snow and ice will absorb that wavelength, but liquid water, like liquid droplets in a cloud, will reflect it back.
Okay.
And that's not the way it works in visible. You know, visible, it just bounces off of all those targets the same. But at near infrared, snow and ice absorbs it, and the liquid will reflect it back. Liquid cloud droplets will do that.
Okay.
And so an image where everything looks white suddenly becomes colorful.
Oh,
And the way this recipe works is that the clouds look pink, and the snow-covered ground and the ice-covered ocean look blue. Suddenly now, we're able to see the polar bear in the snowstorm. We're able to see where the clouds are and where the snow is and where the ice is. This is a powerful advantage. Consider the case zooming into the Bering Strait area. What if you were asked to brief a pilot who wanted to fly, say, from Kotzebue down to Savunga or Gamble,
Right.
and had to fly VFR, visual flight rules, so they had to stay out of the clouds? Could you use a satellite image where everything is white to provide that pilot any guidance?
Be pretty tricky.
Very tricky. And that's why we have to go to this other recipe where the all-white polar bear in the snowstorm becomes more colorful. And now we can tell the pilot, aha, this is a cloud you want to stay out of, but over here, sure, it looks white in the visible spectrum,
Right.
but what we're doing, we'll show you, oh, this is just snow-covered ground, but it's clear, so you can fly right through there, visual flight rules. Same thing for a mariner who might want to get down to St. Lawrence Island, say, but has to avoid the sea ice. This product has applicability there as well.
Wonderful.
It's an amazing new technology, so many new channels. The satellite that makes this imagery actually has 22 different channels that it looks at.
22 secret decoder rings.
22 secret
I love
decoder
it.
rings.
Okay. You know, I liken this to an activity I had in the car when I was growing up. We go on long car rides, and we do all the work in these activity books to, you know, stay calm, cool, and collected for our parents who are trying to get us across the state. But to get the answer, the real answer, you had to apply that red sheet to see the answer or the secret path or whatever the message was in that activity book to get you onto the next page. And it's also like a photography filter, right? If you're taking a lot of pictures, you can apply different colors to see different parts of that image. I mean, that sounds a lot like what you're talking about.
Oh, you know it. The information is in there all along. We just have to combine the channels in a way to reveal what's in there. And by the way, you're dating yourself. So you didn't have an iPad in the back of the car?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, we have, lastly, for dessert, there's a great image of the same kind of recipe. We're looking at South Central Alaska the first week of January. In first week of January, the sun, even at noon, is really low on the horizon, barely up. And in this image, the fun thing is the shadow of Denali. We can see the shadow of Denali over a lower pink cloud deck.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And Denali at 20,000 feet casts a big shadow. So this is another, just for fun, kind of application here. This is called multispectral satellite imagery, and it's the future. And happily, the future is now.
Oh, that is fascinating. And 22 different secrets that can be revealed from just one satellite tool that's floating overhead. Eric, thanks so much for joining us again. We can't wait to have you back and telling us more secrets of satellite technology that are passing over us every single day, many times a day, over Alaska and helping us all the way in many different parts of our lives. So thanks so much for joining us again.
Well, happy to be here.
All right. And thank you for staying with us. We'll be back with a little more weather here in just a few minutes. And of course, we'll have more Alaska weather facts anytime online.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Coastal water forecasts, kind of variable out along the coastline there. On the north coast, small craft advisories, east winds 25 knots, and then on the central and south coast, westerlies 15 to 20 knots, and then the extreme north coast, north 15. Small craft advisories for Lynn Canal, northwest 30 with gusts of 45 knots, Stevens Passage northeast at 20 with gale force gusts, and then Clarence Strait, south winds 20 knots, seas at about 5 feet. Outlook for Monday, for Clarence Strait, southeast winds 15 knots with 4-foot seas, and Stevens Passage pretty light now, southeast 10, and Lynn Canal down to 15 out of the north, seas running 3 feet, and small craft advisories for the entire coastal area there, a lot more uniform, both wind direction and speed, all at 25 knots on the south coast, out of the south with 11-foot seas, north coast, southeast with 9 to 10-foot seas. And for the Prince William Sound zone tomorrow, northwest winds at 20 knots with 4-foot seas. Same direction for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Same speed also, but seas up to 9 feet. Small craft advisories, western North Gulf Coast, northwest 25. And the Barren Islands, west 25. Seas 9 to 10 feet in those areas. Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay, northeast winds 15 knots. Seas 3 to 4 feet. Even lighter winds north of the Forelands down to 10 knots out of the northeast. North 15 for northern Cook Inlet on Monday. Small craft advisories south of the Forelands for north winds 25 knots, seas 6 feet, nice free waters, and northeast 25 knots for both Kamishak Bay, Barren Islands, and the western North Gulf Coast with 6 to 7 foot seas. Eastern North Gulf Coast around Middleton Island east at 20. Prince William Sound, north winds 15 knots. Kodiak Island, west-southwest 20 knots, and then westerlies at 20 knots from Sitkinak to Cape Sarachev with 10-foot seas. And from Cape Sarachev right up across Bristol Bay, southwest winds 15 knots with 4 to 8-foot seas. Outlook for Monday, got gale warnings now for the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula from Cape Sarachev to Castle Cape to Sitkinak, north 25, northeast 25, east side of Kodiak, Chillicothe Strait north of 20, northwest 30 knots there, Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay northwest at 25 knots with 5-foot seas. And for the area from Shimianatu to Kiska northwest tomorrow, 20 knots with 7-foot seas. Small craft advisories on Chitka, Adak and Atka for north to northwest winds at 25 knots. Seas right around 8 feet. And for Fox Islands, northerlies 15 to 25 knots with seas running 8 to 10 feet. Then for Sunday, that active front just east of Kamchatka Peninsula brings almost storm force winds into Shimianatu by afternoon. South 45 knots, 24-foot seas, 40-knot winds moving into Amchitka. Otherwise, northwest 25, Adak and Atka, and 30 to 35-knot winds from the north and northwest for the Fox Islands. Seas running 11 to 13 feet. Southwest coast tomorrow, not bad. Northwest breeze 10 to 15 knots. Pribilos northwest 20. Same thing for St. Matthew Island. Light wind St. Lawrence Island north of 20. East 20 though for Norton Sound. Northwest 20 for Norton Sound on Monday. Northwest 25 for St. Lawrence Island. And 20 knot winds for the Yukon Delta coast, but small craft advisories for the Kuskokwim Delta coast. Northwest 30 knots. Northwest 30 knots for the Pribilofs. 8-foot seas. And winds coming up west 45 knots in the afternoon for St. Matthew Island with 11-foot seas. Brisk wind advisories, eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow. East winds 25 knots, 15 knot winds for the central and west side. Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, northeast at 10. Cape Thompson to Wales, east 15. And the outlook for Monday, brisk wind advisories there from Wales up to Cape Thompson, northwest at 25 knots, north 15 from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort. Pretty light winds on the western Arctic coast, east at 10 for Monday. Central coast about 15 knots, and then brisk wind advisories for the east central coast, east 25. Gale warnings there at Barter Island, Kaktovik over to Demarcation Point for 35 knot winds right out of the east. For tonight, front brings winter storm warning to the Juneau area for 5 to 8 inches of snow, and winter weather advisories for the central Petersburg and Cake for, I believe, 3 to 6 inches of snow. Otherwise, rain and snow mixed elsewhere, and gusty winds ahead of the front, dry over much of Alaska, but snow, areas of light snow over the southwest interior and down along the Alaska Peninsula. And then for tomorrow, that low weakens on the north coast as it becomes a little more mixed precipitation over the central areas and diminishes all areas, light snow showers over the southwest interior. Big front comes in way out west there on Monday afternoon with near storm force winds.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.